It was another disaster of a Thursday night football game, but the Washington Commanders came out on top. We'll talk about Brian Robinson's return, Justin Fields looking just straight up sad, and also the scandal tied to the Washington Commanders with Dan Snyder promising to take people down. If he goes down, they're going down with him. All that and more on the Friday edition of the Locked On NFL, plus our Pick Six package. Your boy Q and Chris Carter, myself, we go into our top 6 picks of the week. It's going to be a fun Friday edition of Locked On NFL. Let's get into
it. You are Locked On NFL, your daily NFL podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome to the Friday edition of the Locked On NFL podcast. I'm Chris Carter. He's your boy Q, and we are breaking it down for you here on the Friday edition. We, of course, are on Locked On NFL. Q is of Locked On Raiders. I'm Locked On Steelers. And we're breaking things down from Thursday Night Football. Remember, you can find this show on Apple, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and of Odyssey, and of course YouTube. If you like this video, please hit the like button on the video and subscribe to the Locked On NFL channel. We have daily episodes as well as so much bonus content that goes out there on every NFL team. We appreciate y'all, and we thank you for making us your first listen every day. Today's episode is brought to you by LinkedIn. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the candidates you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnNFLQ. Thursday Night Football was yet again terrible. I feel like this is a deja vu statement after watching the Colts Broncos last week. We got Bears Commanders and a 12-7 finish. This is back-to-back weeks where a team has won by scoring 12 points.
Right.
That's ridiculous. And I look at this. Carson Wentz went 12 of 22 for 99 passing yards. Justin Fields went 14 of 27 for 190. It was I sat there asking myself, why am I punishing myself by watching this?
The NFL's king. We're always going to watch, right? I remember last week watching the Colts. I almost said the Falcons because of Matt Ryan, but the Colts and the Broncos, and it was such a stinker. And I remember about halfway through the game saying, well, next week's not going to be any better. Well, next week wasn't any better, right? I mean, it just was not a very good game between the Washington Commanders and, of course, the Chicago Bears and Justin Fields. But again, the NFL's king. It's Thursday Night Football. It's another week. Week 6 is all of a sudden officially in the books, and or is getting started. And you know we're paying attention to it, so we're going to watch it no matter what. So it doesn't have to even be a quality product. It's kind of become the norm with these Thursday games. But I do think, as funny as it is, you look at the game, I think there was a lot of storylines to take away from it, even though it was a terrible game.
It was a terrible game. But let's talk about Brian Robinson. This is a guy who was shot.
Storyline number 1 right there. Boom.
Yeah. Absolutely. And such a feel-good story. He gets in his first NFL game after, being in a terrible, terrible situation. 17 carries, 60 yards, and a touchdown. The only touchdown of the night for Washington. Such a big moment for him. I thought that was really awesome to see him get a triumphant moment there. And to see his team get a W off of that. That was really cool.
And for those that don't know, I mean, the guy was shot and carjacked 38 days ago. 38 days. He was shot, carjacked, and now all of a sudden he's back out on the football field and he's scoring a touchdown. So, I mean, the guy did some great things while he was at Alabama as a running back. Didn't know what his career was going to be after that carjacking and after that being shot. You just never know what's going to happen, but hard work pays off. He returned to the gridiron and was able to get into the end zone. So what a great moment for him. And yeah, the team got a W. The team still stinks, but they got a dub. But more importantly, he got a dub. He was definitely the biggest storyline coming out of the game. So I was happy for him. And, on the other side of happy is obviously sad. You mentioned it. I saw you tweet it out during the game. Seeing Justin Fields look sad is sad. And I don't know what they're doing with Justin Fields in Chicago, but I'll tell you what, letting him play is not one of them.
Yeah, I mean, it's just ridiculous. It seems like everything is just going wrong there, and some of it's on him too. He had a touchdown opportunity to his tight end wide open in the end zone and he overthrew him. He had an interception that he threw that went right off the helmet of one of the defenders at the line of scrimmage. And, part of that's with him being a shorter quarterback. But man, you were talking about how Justin Fields, he's now been sacked two times in a game for the longest active streak.
Straight games.
14 straight. That's ridiculous.
Games. Yep.
That's ridiculous. You can't live that way. And you just saw it.
Status.
You saw it during the game when he was on the bench, just like the frustration going through his mind and knowing that like he just has to weather through these moments and find a way to come down. And then late in the game, they're at the goal line. He throws a pass up to Darnell Mooney. He looks like he's pulling it in, but then he bobbles it. He's pushed backwards, and then he doesn't get the touchdown. And Justin Fields is just sitting there like, what did I do to deserve this? And it's the question that a lot of quarterbacks ask when they go to the Chicago Bears.
Well, I'll say this when it comes to the Bears and this new regime led by Matt Eberflus as the head coach. To me, and I know Andrew Whitworth said it on the broadcast from Amazon Prime, that this doesn't feel like they even want him. Like they're saying, hey, we didn't draft you. You're not our quarterback. We just we were gifted you. And so we don't really believe in you. So it feels like that kind of situation. I didn't think that was going to be the case with Andrew Whitworth. But look, we saw what happened with Josh Rosen in Arizona, right? He was drafted in the first round. Cliff Kingsbury gets the job there, and that wasn't his guy. So he went and moved on from Josh Rosen and ended up going and drafting Kyler Murray, number 1 overall. We might see that same effect happen with Justin Fields in Chicago. He might not be long for the Windy City.
Yeah, that's a crazy situation that he's in right now. And again, you saw it during the game and after the game. I mean, he just looked defeated. Like I don't have a chance to get back. Like Kenny Pickett, I saw him for the Steelers lose by 35 points in his opening start. And after the game and this week, he's like, we're going to go back out there. He was fighting guys at the end of the last game.
Yeah.
But he didn't look defeated, even though he was defeated in that game. But this just looks like Justin Fields feels like there's no chance that any change is coming. And frankly, I don't blame him with the way the Bears are just run.
No, I agree. And like I said, if the organization doesn't believe in him and this new regime says, hey, you're not our guy, you're their guy, then do him a favor, right? Move on from him. There's plenty of different teams in the league that need quarterbacks. And, maybe you can get something for him right now. But don't, in my opinion, don't handicap the guy. And what I mean by that is don't try to open things up. Like you said, some of the issues that he had obviously are on him, but it feels like that they're not even trying to open things up and give him an opportunity. It's like they're trying to treat him with kid gloves, and he's not, a guy that you need to treat with kid gloves. He's a very talented dude. He just has to be given an opportunity to go out there and show that. Now, if he gets it done while he's out there, great. If he doesn't, then he proves that he's not the guy, fine. But, you got to give him a chance. You got the job. And I would assume that during the interview process, when Matt Eberflus is being interviewed, it's like, what are your thoughts on Justin Fields? What do you think about the quarterback who's there? Do you think you could work with them? I would find it hard to believe that he said, I don't know. We're just going to, go out there and put some handcuffs on him and watch him fail and then try to move on from him. Like, I'm sure he probably has some kind of plan for him. We just haven't seen it. So I just think that it's time to take the handcuffs off him, let him play. If you're not going to let him play, move on from him but be honest with the situation. Be honest with yourself. It just doesn't look like that's the case.
It doesn't look like that's the case. It looks like the Bears missed on another quarterback pick. We'll see where that goes. But the big story of the end of the week wasn't this game. It was tied to the Washington Commanders, and it's that Dan Snyder reportedly is saying basically, if I'm going down, a bunch of people are going down with me. We'll talk about that story that came out through ESPN. It's a crazy bombshell type of story, and one that pokes at a lot of possibilities for what could be happening moving forward in the NFL. So that's going to be what we do in segment 2. Stay tuned for that, because it is a big story there. But first, we got to talk to you guys about our sponsors at LinkedIn. Now, at LinkedIn, it's the number one place that people go to when they're trying to look for jobs. And if you're an employer, it's the number one place you can go to find the people for your small business. Create a free job post in minutes on LinkedIn Jobs to reach out to your network and beyond on the world's largest professional network of over 810 million people. Then add your job and the purple hashtag hiring frame to your LinkedIn profile to spread the word that you're hiring, so your network can help you find the right people to hire. Simple tools like screening questions make it easy to focus on candidates with just the right skills and experience, so you can quickly prioritize who you'd like to interview and hire. It's why small businesses rate LinkedIn Jobs number one, delivering quality hires versus leading competitors. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the candidates that you want to talk to faster. Did you know that every week, nearly 40 million job seekers visit LinkedIn? Post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL. That's linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL to post your job for free at LinkedIn, the #1 place to find new jobs and new employees. Back here on Locked On NFL, I'm Chris Carter. He's your boy Q. We're breaking things down. Q, we got to get to this Dan Snyder story, man, because, and I got to say, this was something that you saw coming.
Oh, yeah.
That you saw at least happening in the background. We're not like you called that this was going to happen on this Friday or anything like that. But, you were there. You run the Raider Nation radio network. You were there covering John Gruden's, departure and how that went out. And you felt like, man, this is straight out of Dan Snyder's playbook. Yep. And now the report from ESPN is basically that he feels that if the NFL owners are going to try to vote him out, which would be within their right to do so, that he will take them down with him. Is that he has hired, this report says that he has hired private investigators that have dug into a lot of different owners and could expose a lot of things out there. And this is kind of like the nuclear option in this situation. Dan Snyder's not playing around, and it seems like, hey, he's kind of been at odds with Jerry Jones, which if you're at odds with Jerry Jones, that's going to be a big push for the NFL owners to try to get you out. But he's saying, hey, if I'm going out, I'm not going out quietly.
No, not at all. And that's the thing, man. And this is something that I actually kind of expected all along. And when the whole John Gruden issue rolled out, and not that it was correct, not that anything he did was good. I mean, he deserved everything he got because what he did was wrong. But when that all trickled out and all these emails anonymously got out there, I had no doubt that it was coming out of D.C., right? And so with this report from ESPN, it just furthers my belief that everything that happened to John Gruden came from D.C., and I like to call that a warning shot. Going back to your point of Dan Snyder has dirt on all the owners. I think that all the owners, he was getting a little sense that they were going to try to vote him out because, well, he's a scumbag and he shouldn't be an owner of an NFL team. We've seen all the different reports. They've had all kind of different scandals going on from the inside of the organization with women to, cheating out money from fans and other owners. I mean, just everything. Dan Snyder is just a bad dude. Like, we all know he's not a good dude. So I think that he probably got wind that the owners were going to try to vote him out. And he was like, oh, no, you don't. I'm not going down without a fight. I got something on all y'all. And in this report says he's hired private investigators to dig up dirt on everyone, including the commissioner, Roger Goodell. And so I'm sure when they called his bluff, he probably said, oh, okay, let me show you. I got a warning shot. Just like when you're at the club or you're at, some spot, maybe you're out, I don't know, out and about in the streets, and some guys start popping off and talking some trash as they want you to know that they're strapped. What do? They fire a couple warning shots off in the air. You know what those warning shots were? John Gruden's emails. You know what happened a couple days later? Gruden was out of there. And I bet you he said, now, how you like me now, right? And I mean, without coming out saying I did that, because he's denied it, and he's denying in this report as well. But I have no doubt that those were warning shots from Dan Snyder. I'm sure he's got dirt on everyone, but you hit it on the head. He's pissed off Jerry Jones. Jerry Jones turned 80 on Thursday. He's one of those guys that he makes the world go round in the NFL, right? I mean, he's the reason why the Raiders have a stadium in Vegas, right? A lot of folks don't know that, but Jerry Jones rubber stamped it. It's good to go. Robert Kraft, he carries weight like that too, but nobody carries more weight than Jerry Jones. So now that Jerry's pissed off, Jerry, hey, Dan, me and you got to talk, Dan. Now that Jerry is pissed off, now some stuff's going to happen. I'm just interested to see how many heads roll with that, because I have an idea that the lower level owners, the ones that may not be as caked up as a Jerry Jones, as a Robert Kraft, as an Arthur Smith, as some of these owners around the league that are really super caked up, they might all of a sudden be in some trouble, and they might be panicking. They might be hitting the panic button right now, knowing that Dan Snyder probably's got a lot of dirt on him.
One thing that was interesting about the article was that in the article, it quotes Dan Snyder and him talking to an associate of his, saying that the NFL is a mafia and all the owners hate each other. And an anonymous NFL owner in the NFL said that's not true. All the owners just hate Dan. And I think it's beyond anything personal. It's also, this guy has brought nothing but scandal and just nonsense.
He's not even allowed to be part of the day-to-day ownership part of the deal. Like, it's in his wife's name. Like, how do they do that? How do they? Seriously,
it's weird.
Like, how do you? Come on. Are you serious? Right? Like, if I get in some big trouble and they say, well, Q, you can't be involved in that, but your wife can. Okay, fine. She's involved. So you know what that means? I'm involved, right? I mean, what kind of no sense does that make? So that, and we've said it on this show how many times? The dude is like a Teflon Don. Why? Because he's got dirt on everybody,
including Roger Goodell, according to this report.
Right.
And this is the thing, is that in this report is that he's basically telling people they can't mess with me, and I'm cutting out some expletives there. But he feels untouchable, and it makes sense because I've thought so many times with the whole, the island that him and other people were taking women to, and the things were happening there, and reports were coming out, and then nothing was happening by there was the whole push. It took forever for them just to be forced to change their name. That was such a big deal, and he was going to die on that hill before that changed, and now. The quotes that are being pulled from this story is that he's, quote, behaving like a mad dog cornered. And Dan Snyder, I mean, this is very interesting. If he has this kind of dirt on all the different owners, you have to wonder, we've seen things poke out. Like we've seen, Bob Kraft with that massage parlor, and and how all those people that ran the massage parlor were bad, but not Bob Kraft. He was totally fine and innocent in all of that. That's what came out of that. No punishments came his way for being part of that trafficking scandal. But this is where, you think like, man, if Dan Snyder knows. And the other thing is that, like, at this island that he was having, who was going to the island, he could expose a lot of people that were part of that at different times. There's no doubt in my mind that this guy could bring down a lot of people that have been involved. And you're right. There's a lot of shadiness with how the Washington Commanders are run. And the thing is now, though, you're at a standstill and somebody has to lose. I don't think that there's a way for it just to be like everyone puts their guns away and they go home and everyone's happy. It's a standoff. Dan Snyder is going to either face something. He's going to face something. And if he doesn't face something, the NFL owners are. And if the NFL owners don't do anything about it, then it's going to be known like, this guy's holding y'all hostage.
Right.
So now it's a matter of how can they protect themselves? It's just an interesting war, like a cold war that's happening between billionaires that we're all just sitting around and watching and just being like, who's going to avoid the PR battle, or who's going to avoid the PR losses in this situation? Because Dan Snyder's like, listen, I make money hand over fist here, baby. Like I'm not giving this up for nothing. If you're going to take this, you're going to take it from my cold, dead hands. That's like the kind of approach he's taking right now.
Yeah, no, he is. And I mean, honestly, if he goes down, as he mentioned, or as it was mentioned in the piece, like he's going to take some folks with him, right? Everyone's not going to be able to avoid it. So that's the question that these owners have to ask. Is it worth it, taking others down that might not be the bad guys, where it's just Dan Snyder? So that's why I'm very interested to see how this shakes out. I do believe it's going to get worse before it gets better. And I'm not sure how much validity there is to this, but the folks that did this report for ESPN, Seth Wickersham and company, they do a fantastic job. So I know they didn't just grab a bunch of stuff and throw it against the wall and hope it sticks. So where there's smoke, there's fire. There's definitely a lot of smoke burning out of DC right now. So it's basically like stay tuned, because there's going to be something else coming down the pipeline sooner rather than later.
It's just it's wild to me to see this is happening, and that we're starting to get this to come out. Because also, like, the thing is about this, that the NFL has issued like warnings, like if anyone leaks anything like this kind of stuff out, there will be sanctions, there will be fines, there will be penalties, there will be all these things, and people are doing it anyways. Like they're just like, you know what? No, we're leaking this. Like we're giving this information out. I think there's a bit of attention because people do want this guy to go down. Not only is he a terrible person, but like his team has been bad forever. They what do they contribute?
Starts at the top, brother. Starts at the top.
Exactly. And it certainly does. I've heard my insider things about how that organization runs and is run. And I'm just like, it's a disaster. It's just craziness. It's just throwing money around that doesn't get accounted for, that just ends up getting spent on things that don't help the team. And I mean, they've had top picks time and time again. They've felt like this is the time to turn things around. It's never going to get off the ground with that guy. And I know that the NFL is sitting there like, there's a lot of, perennially bad teams. Like, it's not like that. But if you're a perennially bad team and you're caught up in all this scandal, it's like, why should we protect you? Especially when you're coming out and you're trying to threaten us for our in our livelihoods. I think that's just going to be, this is a war. We're not going to see this resolved anytime soon. I think this is going to keep being ongoing, but it's going to be really interesting, Q, to see who fires the first shot here that's really targeting someone.
I'll tell you right now, I think it's real simple for me, man. I think the good old boys club is about to break up. I believe that the boy band is about to break up, right? Because like I said, you can't protect everybody. Somebody's going to end up taking a fall. And I think, we talk about it all the time when it comes to ownership and talks about who's in power, positions of power. And I always say you can't, force people to hire someone that they don't want to hire. The only time that folks are going to hire some other people or give other people opportunities is when the bloodline is changed. When the ownership changes hands, I think you're going to see some ownership change hands because something's going to happen. I don't know if it's going to happen today, tomorrow, or the next day, but it's going to happen where in the next, 4 or 5 years, we might see a different 5 or 6 owners in the league. I mean, I think it's that simple, and that's a lot in a 5 or 6 year period.
Mm-hmm.
That would be a lot. I can see something like that happening.
I can see something happening too, but I have to wonder, who are these 5 or 6 owners or however many people that he has?
If I knew that, man, I'd go down to the casino right around the corner and I'd play everything I could play, and I'd be a bazillionaire right now.
Well, that's
by yourself.
Well, that's the thing, Q, is that when you look at this and you're looking at like, are these crown jewel organizations he's talking about? Are we talking about, are we talking about Jerry Jones? Are we talking about Bob Kraft? Are we talking about the Rooneys in Pittsburgh? Like the top organizations that have been among the franchise.
Yeah.
What'd you say?
Could be talking about the Raiders for all we know, right?
Could be talking about the Raiders. And again, and here's the thing is that as much power as this guy has, man, do not underestimate how much power these people have and money, the things that they have gotten to shut up over the years.
Right,
when you work in this business long enough, you hear stories that you're not allowed to repeat, but you're just like, you got that information from a source and you're like, whoa. And you're sitting there. I've heard stories that I'm not allowed to repeat, but they're just like, man, didn't know that. And you learn about the power that the NFL has to make things go away, or at least just not be heard in the way that they didn't want you to hear it. So
exactly.
There's a lot of things, and this is at the highest level because this isn't players they're protecting. This isn't investments they're protecting. Right. They're protecting themselves now, and that's where this could get really ugly really fast. We'll keep you up to date what happens here on the Locked On NFL podcast. I'm sure this is nowhere near the end of this saga and how this plays out, but we got to get you our pick six, our top 6 games of the weekend that we're picking and who we think is going to win. But first, we got to talk to you guys about BetOnline. Now, y'all know about BetOnline.net. It's the #1 source for all your betting stats and sports information. Find out the latest sports developments, league reviews, and news, including this year's NFL season. We're into week 6 now. It's going to get crazier and crazy. We got some bye weeks, but now NHL has started up. NBA's here. Major League Baseball's in the playoffs. It's the best time for betting in sports because everything is going at full speed. BetOnline is your continued source for all your sports wagering information, from live betting to playoffs, esports, and more. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more of the trends in the action when you visit BetOnline, where the game starts. Back here on the Friday edition of the Locked On NFL podcast. I'm Chris Carter. He's your boy Q, and we're breaking things down on our pick 6, our top 6 games of the weekend that we're seeing. Hey, how's this going to play out for the NFL? There's some interesting games here, Q, because, we got some really big matchups, some divisional matchups. We're going to start with a rematch of a Super Bowl from long ago, Super Bowl 35, when the 2000 Ravens beat the Giants. But the Ravens right now, these are completely different teams, of course. That was 22 years ago. But
I know you had to bring up that story. That was the game that the Ravens they advanced to the Super Bowl because Tony Siragusa belly flopped on top of Rich Gannon in the Oakland Coliseum and knocked the Raiders out of the run, and then they advanced to the Super Bowl and they won. So
what's with the Raiders and weird stuff happening to them in the playoffs?
I don't know, man. I don't know. It's the curse. It's the curse. Man.
Y'all did something.
It's Dan Snyder has some dirt on somebody.
Dan Snyder you got Tony Siragusa flopping on somebody, and you got the tuck rule messing with y'all. That's just crazy.
Yeah.
But anyways,
Giants. Let's start with Ravens Giants.
Now, I'm just rubbing it in. I'm just enjoying his misery.
Bring it up. That was on me. That was my own fault.
Yes, that was on you. But I was going to take advantage of it in the Raider region. But anyways. The Ravens are 5.5-point favorites on BetOnline.net over the New York Giants. Money line is minus 250 Ravens, plus 210 Giants. 45.5 is the over-under here. Q, the Giants have started off really well. They're 4-1. They've earned that record. I'm sorry. This is the week they start to turn back into the pumpkin. They've been Cinderella. And that's not to say they haven't earned their wins.
Right.
But the Ravens are a better team, and Lamar Jackson's coming to town. It's about to be a Ravens game here.
Yeah, I think it is as well. And the thing about it, what makes me believe that the Ravens are going to win this game is that last week their defense played a lot better than what they've been playing so far. Their defense actually showed up, something that they hadn't done really all year long. Their secondary was pretty suspect. It wasn't a week ago. So Baltimore is starting to look like they're turning that corner, not to mention the Giants are coming from London, right? They played in London last week against Green Bay, the early game, and they didn't get the bye week. They just played another week, so they're not going to hit the bye yet. So I think that they're still a little sluggish. So they'll probably start off a little slow, where Lamar Jackson will have an opportunity to get on top of them. So I think the Ravens win that one. I'll roll with the Ravens. I'll give you the 5.5 points, and I definitely will take that victory.
AFC South Showdown is basically a coin flip. You got the Jaguars at the Colts. Colts are favored -2, but this is the game where the Jaguars shut out the Colts just a few weeks ago. But crazy enough, the Colts have the better record now because they're sitting, I believe it's 2-1 is the official record here.
Yeah.
Like, that's crazy to think that they have found a resurgence in their time. And yes, they've also had the benefit of playing certain teams. The Jaguars are 2-3, but the Colts, of course, they're the home team, so they're getting 3 points, of course. Mm-hmm. So the odds makers, they're saying that the Jaguars are the better team, but the Colts get the favorites at home. But this is basically a coin flip for me. Also, the Colts -130, Jaguars +110 on the money line. It's 42 points, the over and the under. Also, I forgot to say, with the 45.5 point over and under, I'm taking the under in the Ravens-Giants game. But I'm also taking the under in this game. I don't think this is going to be a high-scoring game. The Jaguars' defense is really good. They get after the quarterback really well. I think they'll do that again, and the Jaguars will beat the Colts a second time.
Think so? I'm going with the Colts in this one because it's in Indy, right? If it had been in Jacksonville, I would have definitely rolled with the Jaguars because for some reason the Colts never win when they travel to Jacksonville. They just don't. So I feel like that being back at home, Matty Ice and company will find a way to get it done. I think Gus Bradley's defense is playing pretty stinking good. You saw what they were able to do against the Denver Broncos on Thursday Night Football. I mean, their defense was really stout. Their offense stunk, but their defense was really good. So I think the Colts are going to find a way to pull off the victory. It'll be a close game, maybe a 3-point victory, but I think they find a way to win. So I'm rolling with Indy in this one.
All of our odds and lines come from BetOnline.net, your number one source for all your betting stats and sports information. We move on to Bengals Saints.
Ooh, you better not go against those Bengals.
Yeah, we learned our lesson last year.
You learned your lesson.
I learned my. You had to wear Bengal stickers on your face.
I was always a Bengal believer, man.
You were not. You literally they made you wear Bengal stickers.
I did it because I wanted to. I just wanted to show some love.
You did it because you lost a bet. And then the thing was,
I believed in the Bengals the whole time.
I lost the reverse bet in saying that there's no way that the Bengals will lose.
Because you're a dummy.
Yeah, I'm what?
You're a dummy. I told you about the Bengals. I put you up on game back in the preseason last year. I was like, man, you better watch out for Cincinnati.
You did not. We both clowned them, and they both. Anyways. I'm not falling for this foolishness any longer. The Bengals are 1-point favorites on the road against the Saints. The money line is -130 Bengals, +110 Saints. The over/under is set at 43. But Q, both of these teams are 2-3. Neither have really played really good football consistently yet. This is a game the Bengals should win if they were playing at their best level. They're not. And I think that Saints defense, they're in New Orleans. They're playing interestingly. I think they're going to get after Joe Burrow. I think this is going to be a rough week for him. So you said don't do it, but I'm doing it. The Saints are going to get the dub. In New Orleans.
Bengal fans, get on this man. Get on this man, Bengal fans.
Listen, they can't get. Listen, what they gonna say? You lost to the 1-4 Steelers. Yeah, good job.
Flood his Twitter at Carter Critiques. Flood his Twitter because he is ye of little faith. I believe in the Bengals. I know their offensive line is still a little suspect compared to what it should be since they went out and addressed it in the offseason. But I still like Cincinnati in this one. I think that they beat up on the Saints. I think that they win by 10. I think they win by at least 10. So I'm rolling with Cincinnati and no questions asked.
But you know what? I bet on them last year, and they lost, and I had to wear jet stickers. Yeah. So you're saying I'm a dummy for betting on the Bengals?
Well, because you only did it because you were rolling with blind faith. You didn't really have any logic behind it. You just did it because
they were playing the Jets. They were supposed to beat the Jets. Anyways, no. I'm not doing this. No,
it's your fault, man.
We're moving on. We're moving on. You are becoming a distraction, sir. All right. NFC West showdown. Cardinals are 2.5 favorites against the Seahawks. Seahawks are at home, and the money line is -145. Cardinals plus 125 Seahawks. The over-under is at 50.5. Also, I forgot to say, I'm picking the over for Bengals Saints actually there. I think there's going to be a little bit more points scored, but I'm taking the under here. Even though Geno Smith can light it up, I think there's some sloppiness in this game, but I picked the Cardinals to come out on top in this one.
Let's go, Geno Smith. No, I'm kidding. I would never say that. There's those words I would never say. Let's go, Geno Smith. I'm sorry. I know that sounds so disrespectful, but I don't really have a good feel in this game, honestly. I don't believe in the Cardinals, and I sure don't believe in the Seahawks. I definitely don't believe in Geno Smith. I trust Kyler Murray just a little bit, but I don't trust Cliff Kingsbury, where I trust Pete Carroll, right? I mean, so it's like it almost evens out. That's why I guess Cardinals are 2.5-point favorites in Seattle. Like, when's the last time that happened, right? In recent history, you go to Seattle and you're a favorite. Nah, it doesn't really happen that often. So I'm going to roll with the Cardinals in this one just because I trust Geno Smith a lot less than I trust Kyler Murray. But, man, this is one of those that at the end of the day, if they say, so-and-so team won by, a field goal, I'd be like, yeah, of course they did. I don't have a good gut feeling. I'm just going to go with the Cardinals in this one.
This is the game of the week that everyone's been talking about for a month, basically. They're just waiting for this game after the way that the AFC divisional round played out, with the Chiefs needing 13 seconds to drive down the field, get a field goal. They did that, and then they won in overtime with the coin flip. But the Bills are coming to town. Both teams are 4-1, and BetOnline.net, your number one spot for all your betting stats and sports information. They have this game favoring the Bills by 2.5, and really that means at Arrowhead.
Yeah,
and the money line is -140 Bills plus 120 Chiefs. They have an over-under of 54. Q, I might take the over here because these are two explosive. These are two explosive offenses. They're going to be getting after it, and I think that if whoever gets a lead, the other team is going to just take to the air, and it's just going to be just fireworks all game long. But I'm going with the Bills. I think that they're riding high. I think that you talk to me again in the playoffs when these two teams meet and see where they're at. But I think that the Chiefs have been falling behind. Also, it is crazy that Patrick Mahomes has a winning record in games where he is down by 10 or more points. That is just stupid. But the Bills are a team that you can't do that against. They will keep putting up points, and they have a defense to keep you down and to slow you down. I think the Bills get an early lead. The Chiefs will surge back. They'll put up a lot of points, but the Bills will keep their distance and hold on for the win. Who you got in this one?
I'm rolling with the Bills as well, and it's funny, man. Patrick Mahomes is an underdog at home for the first time in his career.
Whoa!
I think about that. Right? Think about that. How wild is that, right? I mean, this dude as a starting quarterback has never been an underdog at home, and now he is. Buffalo, I think there's something special about Buffalo. Obviously, both these teams are 4-1. I just think that with the emotional game that the Chiefs just came off of Monday Night Football against the Raiders when they went to the brinks, that was a fantastic game. They came out with a 30-29 victory. I think that they may have a little bit of I don't want to say letdown, but just maybe they're not as amped and juiced. Not that the Bills don't deserve that amp and juice, but it's hard to keep firing back up, right, coming off a short week. So I just think Buffalo has a little bit more of an advantage here, and, they're a hell of a team. So, yeah, I'm rolling with Buffalo. I think they get it done by 7.
The last game of our pick 6 here, it's a big-time NFC East showdown. Who would have thought this is the best division in football? But you've got the 5-0 Eagles and the 4-1 Cowboys. Eagles at home in Philly. They are 6.5-point favorites, according to BetOnline.net. The money line is -260 Eagles plus 220 Cowboys, with the over-under set at 42. These are two defenses that have really gotten after it this year, Q. I think you can see some really talented football play, but I'm going with the Eagles. They got Jalen Hurts. They got a better offense right now, and the Cowboys offense has stayed afloat. They have done the job to survive not having Dak Prescott. But you're not going to – the Eagles are too complete of a team right now in my mind for the Cowboys to pull that off in this time. If this was in Dallas, if this was in Jerry World, maybe they might have a shot. But in Philly, those people are crazy. And listen, I'm a person who I went to Chain University, the first HBCU out there. We're out there by Philly. Anytime these two teams played, I made sure I went to the biggest part of campus where there would be people meeting up to watch. I just made some popcorn. I got a nice cold beverage, and I just watched the insanity. It wasn't the game that I was watching. It was the fans, because Eagles and Cowboys fans hate each other more than anybody that I've seen. And I'm a guy I'm Pittsburgh. I've seen Steelers Ravens, that carnage. You know, my parents told me about Steelers Raiders back in the day and how evil that was. Eagles Cowboys, the things that are said about each other's mothers, the things that happen in front of you, the fighting, it's for real. These teams hate each other, these fans hate each other. It's going to get ugly, but I'm going with the Eagles.
Yeah, this is a tough one, man. I had to look at two different elements here. Well, actually three. Who's got the better defense?
Yes.
They're both really good. Who's got the better running game? They're both really good.
Yep.
Who's got the better coach? And they're both kind of suspect at times, right? So then I had to boil it down to, all right, who's got the better quarterback? And I think Jalen Hurts is the better quarterback.
Absolutely.
Right? I think he's the better quarterback. And I think he's the better quarterback, and this is going to sound weird, I think he's the better quarterback even when Dak Prescott's in there.
Ooh.
I think he's worked that hard in the offseason.
That's a good take.
He has really improved. So I think he's the better quarterback. Not to mention, when Dak's in there, the Cowboys play differently.
Yeah, they do.
They don't play the way that they're playing right now. Right now, they're playing winning ball. But when Dak's in there, they play a different style. So I'm going to roll Philly in this one as well. The only thing that Philly has going against them is that they're 5-0. And what I mean by that is I don't believe any team is going to go undefeated. So at some point, that bubble's got to burst. And Eagle fans hope it's not this week. It's going to be a Sunday night football game. At least it'll be a fun way to end the weekend before Monday Night Football. So, yeah, I'm going to roll Philly in this one to see how it goes down. But a very interesting game, NFC East.
Do you take the 6.5 points that the Eagles are favored by?
Ooh, yeah.
I don't. I think this is going to go down to the wire.
I could see the Eagles winning by 3. Hell, I don't care. I'm going to roll with the Eagles, and I'm going to roll with I'm going to say they're going to win by about 7. So,
okay.
Yeah, you can have the points. I still think the Eagles will get the dub.
Well, there you have it. There's our pick 6. We had Cowboys, Eagles, Bills, Chiefs, Cardinals, Seahawks, Bengals, Saints, Jaguars, Colts, and Ravens, Giants. All big games this weekend. Find all the lines, the odds, the ends, the scores, everything you need at betonline.net. Your number one place for sports gambling and trends and information. Thanks, Q, for being such a great co-host as always. Appreciate you, man. Let people know can find you, follow, and get more of your work.
Everything's on Twitter, man. Locked On Raiders, Locked On Bets, Locked On NFL. Everything I tweet out a link to at your boy Q254. Again, at your boy Q254. It's like a GPS. You can always find me. How about you?
I'm Chris Carter. You can find me on Twitter.
Tell Bengal fans where you're at, because they're going to come for you.
They come from every week. They can keep. You know what? They lost to the Steelers. That's what they had to deal with. So you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Carter Critiques. I don't care who you are. Find me. Come see me. I'm here every day. But I host Locked On Steelers as well. So I do that. But I also write for the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, where we cover Pitt athletics. It's been a wild time with that. They're on a bye week, so that's nice. I get a Saturday off where I can just watch some college football. There's some good college football this weekend, Q. We got some big matchups coming up. Alabama, Tennessee, Michigan, Penn State. I'm excited for that. So I'm glad to have the bye week this week covering that. But you can find me there at Carter Critiques for Twitter and Instagram. And you can find all of our shows, Locked On Raiders, Locked On Steelers, and Locked On NFL and Locked On Bets. All of that is on Apple, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Odyssey, YouTube. Like this video if you saw it on YouTube. Subscribe to this YouTube channel to get all the daily episodes here on Locked On NFL. We'll be back on your screens and in your ears next Friday, breaking down what happened on next Thursday Night Football. We hope that it's somehow better than the last 2 weeks.